Thanks to everybody for being here. Commander Yoes, I had a couple questions for you. First, I want to thank you for your long service in law enforcement, and congratulations on your well-deserved election as the National President of the Fraternal Order of Police.
Thank you.
You do, all of us in Louisiana, great service, and we're very proud of you, so thank you for that. You shared some statistics earlier today that I just think are really alarming, and I wanted to reiterate two of those. 66% reduction in the recruitment of new police officers nationwide. Is that what you said?
That's what I understand, yes.
And first responders have about a 5 times the rate of PTSD occurrence than the general population. I mean, these are things that are alarming and should.
I think, and this is the elephant in the room. We don't like talking about it because it's uncomfortable. But if you think about the demands that are placed on a person in the law enforcement profession, the shift work they work, the level of the calls that they respond to, the things that they see and the things that they deal with and try and compartmentalize within their own lives, all of that takes a toll on an individual. And for far too long, we refused to talk about it. We wanted them to be strong. We expect our officers to be strong. And it wasn't until we realized that we were doing a disservice by not recognizing the impact that it's having. Often we'll see officers that we think they're acting out. We think that they're bad officers. In a lot of cases, we really need to acknowledge the fact that there's a reason why there's some actions being taken. And it's signs. It's signs of something much greater than that. And I'll argue, I feel very strongly of the fact that when someone subjects their life, their family, and everything to the profession of law enforcement to do good for within their community, we need to recognize these things, and we need to not push them aside. We need to find programs to help them and save those officers. We have a fiduciary and a moral responsibility to save that which has been broken in the service of our communities, and I think that's very important to recognize it, to focus on the fact that it does exist, and we need to tackle it. We need to give some serious consideration and thoughts to a holistic approach of saving officers who are damaged because of the type of work they're doing.
I appreciate you saying that. I grew up in the household of a first responder. My dad was a assistant chief, Shreveport Fire Department. He was permanently disabled, critically injured in a fire in 1984, and so I have a real appreciation of the danger that's faced by first responders. I grew up at the Fire and Police Training Academy because my dad was a training officer. And I heard a metaphor one time, and it's pretty well known now, but basically society's divided into 3 groups of people. There are sheep, which defines most people, not in a derogatory manner, but we're all peace-loving folks who wouldn't do harm to anybody else. There's a second category, it's the wolves, and these are the people, evil men and sociopaths that prey upon the innocent without mercy. And then there's a third category, and those are the sheepdogs. And the sheepdogs are called to protect the sheep and confront the wolves. And I am so grateful that we have sheepdogs in our society. That's our law enforcement officers, military, first responders. Thank you all. Thank all of you that serve, because it is a thankless job. A couple of questions in the short time I have left. Commander Yoes, I guess you first. Have you yourself or have you witnessed reduced reaction times by police officers confronted with violence because somewhere in their thought process is they're afraid of being fired or sued or prosecuted? And the second part is, if so, does that affect their safety and by extension the safety of innocent bystanders in the community at large?
I'll speak in general terms if I can.
Sure.
I know of having discussions with officers to where their decision to take action was delayed with the thought process of how it would affect their family. And so the good news is we were able to have that conversation because it turned out with a peaceful resolution. But I can also tell you that I know a number of officers who found themselves in situations where a non-compliance has escalated, and because we have the non-compliance and there's an escalation, then there's an uncertain outcome. That uncertain outcome affects a lot of people. It affects the officers, it affects the person that's having the encounter, and it also affects the bystanders. And what we need to do is we need to focus. We need to focus a tremendous amount of our energy on de-escalation techniques and training, because that really, when we look at all of these situations, they've elevated to a point because it's escalated. And we definitely need to improve on our skills in order to de-escalate these because of the uncertain outcomes. At times, it can be irreversible.
I see heads nodding all across the table, and I think that's universally understood. Last question, short time left. Do you see policing ultimately as being the responsibility of police and government, or maybe also an obligation of the public as well?
Oh, it's clearly an obligation of the public and police. I think it's a partnership. Anything less would not be effective.
Thank you. I'm out of time. I yield back.